Before highways stretched like veins across the country, America was a land of towns, small, proud, and bound together by rhythm. There was a pattern to life then, the hum of a sawmill at dawn, the smell of bread cooling by noon, and the steady ring of the church bell as evening settled in. Every small town had its own rituals. Not the kind written in history books, but the ones that made life feel human, the summer socials, the quilting bees, the band concerts on courthouse lawns. They were quiet traditions, passed not by law but by love, shaping how people worked, rested, and cared for one another. If you were lucky enough to grow up in a town like that, you know the feeling. Everyone knew your name, your father's car, and your grandmother's cobbler recipe. The post office wasn't just for mail, it was where stories traveled faster than letters. But as the century turned, the world began to speed up. Interstates bypassed main streets. Chain stores replaced corner shops. The glow of the television replaced the glow of the porch light. Slowly, the small-town heartbeat, that steady, gentle pulse of community, began to fade. And with it went the traditions that made those towns feel alive. Yet even now, the memories linger, in black and white photos tucked into family albums, in the smell of rain on old sidewalks, in the way the wind still whistles through a shuttered general store. Tonight, we're going back, not to the America written in textbooks, but the one remembered through touch, taste, and song. These are the 15 vanished small-town traditions that once defined us, the ones that stitched us together long before progress pulled us apart. Number 1. The church supper, where every dish told a story. It wasn't about religion as much as it was about belonging. On a Friday night in 1940s America, you could walk into almost any small-town church hall and smell home. There'd be long folding tables lined with casseroles, pies, and steaming pots of stew, each dish carried in by someone who'd spent the whole afternoon preparing it. Church suppers were social glue. Farmers, teachers, factory workers, all sat side by side, sharing food and laughter. Nobody asked how much money you had or what you believed. The only question that mattered was, did you try Mrs. Jenkins' chicken and dumplings? These suppers often doubled as fundraisers, for a new roof, a family in need, or the town's one-room schoolhouse. The food wasn't gourmet, but it was rich in generosity. By the 1970s, fast food and busier schedules chipped away at the tradition. Disposable plates replaced tablecloths, and time, that old enemy, claimed the rest. But for those who remember, the echo remains, the clatter of dishes, the laughter that filled the air, and the sacredness of a simple shared meal. From the scent of potluck stew, we moved to the scent of fresh linen, and a social art form that once stitched communities together, thread by thread. Number 2. The quilting bee, stitching stories into fabric. In the quiet afternoons of small-town America, women gathered around wooden frames and spoke with their hands. The quilting bee wasn't just sewing, it was storytelling. Each square of fabric carried meaning, a scrap from a child's dress, a patch from a soldier's uniform, a piece of a wedding gown long outgrown. Together, they became something bigger, a tapestry of family and friendship. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, quilting bees were the backbone of rural social life. Women shared news, advice, and sometimes heartbreak. Laughter filled the room as needles clicked through cloth. When the quilt was done, it wasn't just warm, it was alive. As America modernized, store-bought blankets replaced hand-stitched ones, and community gave way to convenience. But in attics across the country, old quilts still hang, faded but not forgotten, each one whispering a story of togetherness. And from the quiet of the sewing circle, our story drifts toward the sounds of brass and rhythm, echoing through summer nights under the stars. Number 3. The town band concert, music beneath the gazebo. Every small town had one. A white-painted gazebo at the heart of the park, surrounded by folding chairs and children chasing fireflies. On Saturday nights, when the air was thick with the smell of lilacs and lemonade, the town band would take the stage. Brass gleamed under string lights as they played Sousa marches, waltzes, and the occasional love song. It didn't matter if you were a farmer or a banker, everyone came. Couples danced barefoot in the grass. Kids licked melting ice cream. The music wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. These concerts began after the Civil War and thrived into the 1940s, when every small town seemed to have a bandstand and a reason to celebrate. But television, air conditioning, and city life slowly silenced them. Today, a few towns keep the tradition alive for festivals, echoes of a time when Saturday night didn't mean screens, but songs shared in the open air. And as the final notes fade, we walk toward another kind of small-town stage, one lit not by lanterns, but by the flicker of a summer sky. Number 4. The drive-in theater, love, popcorn, and the glow of summer. There was a magic to those summer nights, the kind that flickered just beyond the headlights. By the 1950s, nearly every small town had its own drive-in theater. Rows of Chevrolets and Fords lined up under the stars, windshields fogged with laughter, popcorn, and the hum of crickets. The big screen rose like a cathedral of light against the dark, a shrine to simpler dreams. It wasn't just about the movie. It was a ritual. Young couples shared milkshakes and whispers. Families piled in with kids in pajamas, waving sparklers before the first reel began. Teenagers found freedom, a place where the rules of daylight didn't apply. At their peak, more than 4,000 drive-ins dotted America. They were built on land that once grew corn and now grew memories. But by the 1980s, things began to dim. Rising land prices, the arrival of VHS tapes, and the glow of indoor multiplexes pulled people away. One by one, the screens went dark. Still, if you drive through rural Ohio or Kansas on a warm July night, you might still spot a glowing screen in the distance, a ghost of the American summer that never quite died. And from the flicker of that film light, we move to the warmth of another beloved summer ritual, where sugar, pride, and friendly rivalry filled the fairgrounds. Number 5. The County Fair Pie Contest, the taste of local glory. Every fairground had one, the long table draped in gingham, the judges whispering, and the air thick with the scent of cinnamon and sugar. The County Fair Pie Contest was small-town America's sweetest competition. It wasn't just about baking, it was about reputation. Winning the blue ribbon meant something, that your crust was the flakiest, your apples the sweetest, and your name worth remembering. Women guarded their recipes like family heirlooms. A secret ingredient could be anything, a pinch of vinegar, a bit of lard, or just the steady hands of experience. The fair wasn't just about the contest, it was about connection. Farmers showing their best livestock, kids running with cotton candy, and neighbors catching up after harvest. The pie tent was the heart of it all, warm, fragrant, and full of pride. As store-bought desserts and modern diets took over, the contests dwindled. But every fall, in towns from Iowa to Vermont, you can still find a few bakers setting out their pies, hoping to hear those same old words, first place, Mrs. Miller's apple crumble. From the fairground, we marched toward Main Street, where color, pride, and tradition once rolled down every block. Number 6. The Main Street Parade, when the whole town came out. The scent of popcorn, the blare of trumpets, and the sight of red, white, and blue streaming from every lamppost, this was Main Street on Parade Day. Whether it was the 4th of July, Memorial Day, or the town's founding anniversary, parades were moments when everyone belonged. The high school band marched proudly. Veterans waved from convertibles. Kids scrambled for tossed candy. For small towns, parades were more than entertainment, they were identity. They marked time, told stories, and reminded everyone that community still mattered. But when budgets tightened and small businesses closed, the floats grew fewer. National chains didn't march in parades, and fewer people came out to watch. Still, on quiet mornings in places like Iowa or Georgia, if you stand along Main Street in July, you might hear that familiar rhythm again, the distant beat of a drum, calling the town back to itself. And from marching bands and waving flags, we moved to something softer, the simple beauty of Sunday evenings, when the town found stillness by the water. Number 7. The Sunday evening picnic by the lake. There was a rhythm to Sundays, morning church, a hearty lunch, and by late afternoon, a family picnic by the lake. Blankets spread across grass, wicker baskets filled with fried chicken, deviled eggs, and lemonade poured from glass jars. Fathers skipped stones. Mothers laughed. Kids waded barefoot into the shallows until the sun melted into gold. For generations, these picnics were the weekly ritual that reset the soul, no schedules, no noise, no screens. Just the sound of cicadas and the gentle lap of water. As life sped up, weekends became busier. Work followed people home. And the family picnic, once a small-town Sabbath, slipped quietly away. Yet in the scent of charcoal, or the sparkle of water at dusk, that memory lingers, a reminder of when time slowed down long enough to taste happiness. And when the sun set on Sunday, there was one place many would go next, not to relax, but to shine. Number 8. The Town Dance Hall, the beating heart of Saturday night. Every small town had a place where hearts met the rhythm of the fiddle. Long before nightclubs and playlists, there was the dance hall, often the only building with enough room for a whole community to come together. Farmers dusted off their boots, young men nervously asked for a dance, and couples moved across the floor as a live band played swing or country tunes. The lights were soft, the air warm, and the floorboards groaned under the weight of joy. During the Depression and wartime years, dance halls offered escape, a few hours when troubles could wait till morning. But as jukeboxes, television, and suburbia grew, the music faded. Now, only a few remain, lovingly restored by historical societies, where once a year the town gathers again to remember what Saturday night used to sound like. From the music of the hall, we follow the scent of breakfast, and a gathering that once defined small-town mornings. Number 9. The volunteer fireman's pancake breakfast. If your town siren ever woke you at 2 a.m., you knew who it was for, the volunteer firemen. And once or twice a year, those same men traded their helmets for aprons. The firehouse pancake breakfast was a small-town ritual of gratitude and generosity. Long tables filled with families, sticky plates, and the smell of batter sizzling on cast iron. The proceeds kept the trucks running, but the morning was about more than money. It was about respect, for the men who ran toward danger when everyone else ran away. Kids waited in line to climb into the fire truck. Mothers caught up over coffee. Fathers dropped a few extra dollars in the donation jar. Today, a few towns still hold them, but more often they're replaced by online fundraisers. The smell of pancakes may have faded, but the spirit, that shared sense of duty, still burns bright. And from the warmth of breakfast, we move to the cool hum of dusk, when the whole town came out to play beneath the fading light. Number 10. The community baseball game, where heroes wore dust. There was a time when summer evenings meant baseball, not on TV, but in your own backyard. Every small town had a community team, made up of shopkeepers, teachers, mechanics, and dreamers. The stands were wooden, the scoreboard hand-painted, and the crowd was small but proud. Children chased foul balls into the grass. Mothers cheered louder than anyone. And when someone hit one over the fence, it felt like the whole town won. These games weren't just about sport, they were about togetherness. Rival towns squared off every summer, friendly but fierce, and afterward everyone gathered for lemonade and pie. When professional sports and television took center stage, the local leagues faded. The bleachers rotted. The field grew wild. But if you listen close on a quiet summer night, you might still hear the crack of a bat in the distance, and remember a time when heroes didn't wear uniforms, just dust and determination. Number 11. The general store gossip corner, where news traveled by word of mouth. Before social media, before even the evening paper reached the doorstep, there was one place you went to find out what was happening, the general store. You could smell it before you saw it: wood floors, coffee brewing, tobacco in the air. Shelves lined with everything from nails to penny candy. And near the potbelly stove sat the gossip corner, a few old men, a checkerboard, and more local news than any radio could deliver. Stories spread there: who got engaged, who sold their farm, who had a new baby, and who was running for mayor. It was how towns kept their pulse. For kids, it was where you learned manners, and how to ask for candy without testing your luck. For adults, it was where time slowed, and words carried weight. By the 1980s, chain stores and shopping malls silenced the gossip corners. Conversations went digital, and the hum of the general store faded into memory. Still, when you walk into an old shop on a quiet back road and hear the bell above the door, you might catch a whisper of that warmth, the kind you can't buy, only belong to. And from talk around the stove, we step outside into the open air, where the night sky once held America's favorite light show. Number 12. The 4th of July fireworks on the hill. It was the one night of the year when the whole town looked up together. Families spread blankets across grassy hillsides. Kids waved sparklers, faces glowing. Someone's pickup bed became the best seat in town. Then, as dusk fell, the first fireworks streaked across the sky, and the crowd gasped like they'd never seen one before. 4th of July fireworks weren't just celebration, they were communion. A shared heartbeat. Veterans stood a little taller. Children laughed a little louder. For a few minutes, time stopped, and everyone remembered what it meant to be from the same place. As towns grew and budgets shrank, local fireworks displays faded. Big cities took over, and smaller hills went dark. But in places like Nebraska, Kentucky, or the Carolina foothills, a few still gather each summer, to lie in the grass, smell the gunpowder, and remember the beauty of belonging. And when the last spark fades, the music begins, not from professionals, but from the people themselves. Number 13. The annual Town Talent Show, the stage of ordinary stars. It wasn't Carnegie Hall. It wasn't even a real stage sometimes. But for one night a year, it was magic. The annual talent show turned teachers into singers, farmers into comedians, and shy kids into local legends. The whole town showed up, cheering louder for courage than perfection. You might see a barber playing fiddle, a schoolteacher juggling, or a grandmother tap dancing in homemade shoes. It was laughter and pride stitched together with applause. These nights built confidence and community. They reminded people that talent didn't have to come from Hollywood, it could come from down the street. As television and the internet brought the world to everyone's living room, the little stages fell silent. But in memory, the echo of clapping hands and the gleam of stage lights still shimmer, proof that for one night, everyone was somebody. And from the bright lights of the stage, we follow the soft glow of porch lamps, and the front yards that once connected the whole block. Number 14. The front porch evenings, conversations without clocks. The front porch was America's living room. Long before air conditioning drew people indoors, evenings were spent on wooden steps, sipping lemonade and watching the world pass by. Neighbors waved. Kids played tag until the fireflies came out. People didn't need appointments to talk, they just stopped by. Porch swings creaked, dogs barked, and somewhere down the street, someone strummed a guitar. Those slow evenings built bonds stronger than concrete. You knew your neighbors, not just their names, but their stories. Then came television, and later, smartphones. Curtains closed. Screens glowed. The world outside grew quieter. But in old towns, if you drive through on a warm summer night, you might still see one porch light burning, a flicker of the way things used to be, when community was measured not in Wi-Fi bars, but in laughter drifting through the dark. And from that last porch, we travel to one final gathering place, where life, love, and memory came together every Saturday morning. Number 15. The Saturday Farmers Market, Harvest of the Heart. Every Saturday, the town square transformed. Wooden tables appeared overnight, filled with baskets of tomatoes, corn, honey, and wildflowers. The air smelled like earth and sunlight. Farmers greeted families by name. Kids got sticky fingers from free samples. People didn't just buy food, they bought stories. The farmers' market wasn't just commerce, it was connection. It was a handshake instead of a barcode, a smile instead of a receipt. It was where neighbors met, friendships formed, and seasons changed right before your eyes. Supermarkets made it easier, yes, but colder too. The rows got longer, but the conversations got shorter. Yet even now, in towns across America, the tradition refuses to die completely. Because deep down, people still crave what the market gave, not just fresh food, but a sense of being home. Time has a way of sanding down the edges of memory. The sounds fade first, the laughter, the band music, the hum of conversation. Then the sights, the bright fair tents, the wooden bleachers, the faces. But even as the world moves faster, something inside us remembers. We remember how it felt to belong, to know the rhythm of a small town, the smell of Sunday supper, the joy of waving to someone you actually knew. These vanished traditions weren't just about nostalgia, they were about connection. They taught us that progress means little if we forget how to pause, how to share, how to care. So maybe the small towns aren't truly gone. Maybe they live inside us, in every backyard barbecue, every neighborly wave, every small kindness that bridges the space between strangers. This has been the World Tapestry, where we weave the stories that time tried to forget. If this journey stirred something in you, subscribe, share, and stay with us, because the stories of yesterday still have something beautiful to say about today.